they're protesters.
My Lord, the Noble Minister gave a powerful justification for updating the criminal law to deal with these new forms of protest. She made a point that the general public have had enough, and I think we can recognise that. We've all seen instances of workers begging protesters to let them through to go to work, parents trying to get ill children to hospitals and so on, and we've seen frustration turn to fury, often people taking action on their own as the police have stood by, dragging protesters away. So at least this section of the bill makes sense to me based on that motivation. But we have spent hours and hours on previous sections banning types of protests in Part 3, justified on the basis it was dealing with those kind of actions, when in fact none of the measures that we previously discussed would deal with them at all. The measures that we previously discussed in Part 3 elicited some very fine speeches about the right to protest. I was struck most recently by the speech by the Noble Lord Coker, which I related to. It's probably on the same minus demos, actually, but which properly understood, entirely understood, why people were demanding the right to protest. And all those fine words were basically effectively shot down by the government, by the minister, on the basis that these were things that we needed to do to deal with Extinction Rebellion and these different kind of protests. In fact, the only dealings that I had when I got caught up in an Extinction Rebellion protest, I was trying to get through it rather than I was on it, in case anyone panics. They were doing a 5-hour silent vigil in mime, if you get my drift. There was no noise involved. But we spend all that time discussing how noise is going to trigger the police having a huge amount of power to deal with those people. So I just find it utterly galling, because now we have a set of amendments that at least I can think, I understand why you've brought them in. The public will actually think, oh, they're going to try and tackle what we're furious about. And we should therefore, in this House, be able to scrutinise them line by line, as has been explained. People will probably like when I say people, there might be a popular support for the locking on offence. But as I think particularly Lord Paddock and Lord Beath have done a really good takedown of what the consequences of these beyond the headline, they might be less keen on the equipped to lock on offence. And certainly when they work out the absolutely frightening aspects of the serious disruption orders, prevention orders, they might want to think again. But the point, and by the way, and the causing and contributing to aspect, as Lord Paddock noted, really is a very, very serious threat to free speech. Absolutely. And this is a government that claims all the time it's here to defend free speech, but they're introducing, without even casually noting it, that this would absolutely be a damaging threat to free speech. So I say all this because maybe I'm wrong, and maybe the government could persuade us that these special kind of protesters need special kind of laws, in which case we should have hours and hours to discuss it. But instead, here we are, fed up, having discussed a whole range of other legislation, supposedly to deal with them when it wasn't, and now the things which might deal with them, we haven't got time to discuss. So it's frustrating for all of us.